What's going on, everybody? Chroma Rust here, back again with Quirks for Gaming. We're going to go ahead, continue on with our how to maximize your Berserker Up Time. And in this video, I'm going to discuss the skills. Now, I know most of you do know the skills, so I promise to keep this as painless as possible. I promise. But then a little later on, we're going to dive a little bit more in depth about some of the skills themselves. So do go ahead, stick around for that. So let's jump right in here. Bash Instigation. This is going to be generating our most fury per hit, so do go ahead, use this one. Whirlwind Hurricane, while you could switch out the Ruin, it's not recommended, so go ahead, stick with that one as well. Battle Rage into the Fray. Now this one's going to be set in stone. While under the effects of Battle Rage, crit hits are going to have a chance to generate 15 additional fury, and this is going to be working in tandem with our Sprint Run Like the Wind, and that's going to be the tornadoes that are shooting out behind us. Rat the Berserker, Thrive in Chaos, this one's set in stone as well. Every 25 fury gained while Rat the Berserker is active, it's going to add 1 second to the duration of the effect. Now the 6th skill here, this is the one that you're actually going to be able to change if you want to. You could use Charge for another Ruin on Warcry, or you could use like Threatening Shout, or Furious Charge, or Leap, or Ignored Pain, Rend, Hammer the Ancients. Really, you could put whatever you want there, so if you want to go ahead and test it out, do go ahead and do that. Now for the passives, I'm going to be using Animosity. And this is going to increase fury generation by 20%, and maximum fury is going to be increased by 20. Some other things you could use here is like Unforgiving. Now it's going to be like a full IK set, while you're not actually going to generate that fury. If you do use the Templar, there's a skill on him that gives you like 8% more fury, and then you'll actually slowly gain fury if you use this. Superstition, that's something else for fury. I haven't really tested with it much, but you could go ahead, check it out if you want. Boonable Kathos. Now while this is not going to actually help refresh your Rat the Berserker stack, if you're having troubles going from like zone to zone or whatever, this is going to reduce the cooldown of Rat the Berserker by 30 seconds. Brawler, if you're looking for more damage, you can use Brawler, or if you need more protection, you can use things like Tough as Nails, Nerves of Steel, or if you're low on Life Steal or Life on Hit, Bloodthirster is great. Now for our other two, we're going to be using Ruthless because it's going to be giving us 5% crit hit chance, and Weapon Master, that's going to give us an additional 10% crit hit chance because we do have a mace in our main hand. If you use a Mighty Weapon, that'll give you 3 fury per hit, so that's actually a good choice as well. So that's it for the skills. Let's go ahead and move on. We are going to talk about Whirlwind and Sprint Run Like the Wind tick frequency mechanics. Now I don't want to take any of the credit for the information I'm about to share because it was actually all tested by a guy called Nubtro, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, and he posted a thread about it over on the Diablo 3 forums. I'm going to leave a link in the description below because I'm not going to be able to go over it all. It is very lengthy and in-depth post, but I'm just going to highlight some of the topics that he talked about. So for the Sprint Run Like the Wind mechanics, tornadoes are going to do 20% of your main hand base weapon damage per tick. So when you're calculating your DPS, you're not going to want to look at the big number on your weapon. You're actually going to want to look at that smaller set of white numbers. That's going to be how you're going to calculate your DPS. And you're going to be able to check that out over at the guy's forum post if you want to learn how. Tornado tick frequency is going to scale with attacks per second. So I'm going to go ahead and post this chart here. It's also in the guy's thread, but these are considered breakpoints. So once you pass in the next threshold or the next breakpoint, you're going to be doing that many ticks per tornado. Also, when you're dual wielding, tornado tick frequency is going to depend on attacks per second of the last weapon swung before using sprint. So I will go ahead and read that one more time just to make sure you got it. When you're dual wielding, tornado tick frequency depends on attacks per second of the last weapon you just swung. Tornadoes are going to have a 0.08 proc coefficient. What this is going to mean is that each tornado tick is going to heal you for 8% of your total life on hit value. Each tornado tick has an 8% chance to generate 3 fury when you equip a mighty weapon in your main hand and use the passive skill Weapon Masters. Also, each tornado tick has an 8% chance to activate an on-proc effect from a legendary weapon. And the last thing is going to be each tornado crit hit has an 8% chance to generate 15 fury when Into the Fray is active. So I did want to go ahead, jump in game here real fast and show you something. If you're running in a straight line, you're going to be able to get 4 tornadoes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There you go. But if you're running in a nice little tight circle, you'll actually be able to get 5 when you're at 24% movement speed. So there you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, that's going to be it pretty much for the Sprint Run Like the Wind. Let's go ahead and move on to Whirlwind now. So for some Whirlwind mechanics, it's going to do 48.33% base weapon damage. So once again, you're not going to want to look at that bigger number, you're going to want to look at that smaller set of numbers. So what this is going to mean in the real world, if you have two maces, they both have 1,000 damage, but one of them has attack speed. The one that has attack speed is actually going to do less damage because that smaller set of numbers is actually going to be lower, because the attack speed is actually raising the DPS on the weapon, which would be the bigger number. Unless it's actually pushing you into the next threshold, then it could actually be debatable. So I know that's a little bit confusing, but I do hope you got a little something out of that. Also, Whirlwind's going to have a 0.13 proc coefficient, just like Sprint Run Like the Wind had a 0.08 proc coefficient. So I'm not going to go over all the examples like I did before. I'll just throw you a couple of them just so you have the idea. Each Whirlwind hit is going to heal you for 13% of your total life on hit, and each Whirlwind crit hit has a 13% chance to generate 15 Fury. So it's going to be just like Sprint Run Like the Wind, but it's going to be 13% instead of 8. Also, Whirlwind tick frequency is going to scale with attacks per second the same way that tornado tick frequency does. So that chart that I posted before and the one that should be up there now, they have the same breakpoints basically is what it means. Also, Whirlwind Fury cost is going to scale with attacks per second. So the more that you have, the less Fury it's going to cost per tick. So the Fury cost is going to range from 3 being at the slowest point and 1.634 at the highest point for attacks per second. And the last thing is when you're dual wielding, Whirlwind tick frequency is going to depend on the weapon you are about to swing, not the weapon you swung before using Whirlwind, which is the exact opposite of Sprint Run Like the Wind. So I will read that one more time because I know it might have been a little confusing. Whirlwind tick frequency is going to depend on the weapon you are about to swing, not the weapon you swung before using Whirlwind. So it's going to be the exact opposite of Sprint Run Like the Wind. And also, when you're dual wielding, Whirlwind is going to alternate between hands. So it's going to go main hand, offhand, main hand, offhand, main hand, offhand. So I do want to go ahead, jump in game one last time and show you why we want to be using the Hurricane Rune on Whirlwind, and then that'll conclude our video. So there you go, we have Hurricane Whirlwind on. Let's test this out. We're going to start spinning, use our sprint, we'll count the number of tornadoes we were able to get, and we were able to get 4. Sometimes you're actually going to be able to get 5. Now I guess I should have talked about this before about Sprint Run Like the Wind. It's going to go off of your distance traveled for how many tornadoes you get. So the further distance, the more tornadoes you're going to be able to get. I do believe 5 is the cap. I've never seen 6 personally. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I've just never seen it. So let's go ahead, throw up any of the other runes. It really doesn't matter which one we choose. So we're going to start spinning, and you can see how slow we're actually moving. And you're only going to be able to get 3 tornadoes. So that's going to be why you're going to want to use Hurricane on Whirlwind. Well, that's going to be it for this video. There is going to be a part 3. Oh man, I can't believe there's going to be a part 3, but yeah, there is. I just can't get the information condensed enough. So if you have any ideas for my 3rd video, or if there's something I haven't covered that you still have a question about, do go ahead, post it in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. And that's going to be it for me, guys. You have a great day.